Welcome back. This is the new Sentinel, and I've got the crew with me. Major Graves, Olga, and Duke. Now, if you felt like the world was simmering right under the lid this week, you're not alone. Let's start at the sharpest edge. Ukraine. Russia has taken Pokrovsk and Donetsk. After months, bloody months of fighting, that's a big blow. 4 people killed, dozens injured in a missile strike on Dnipro right after. Feels like we're seeing the war shifting, right?
Yeah, that Pokrovsk news is hard-hitting, Chukwuka. I mean, if you're watching for shifts in momentum, when a city falls like that after a siege, it changes everything on the ground. The Dnipro strike, classic escalation, but the loss of Pokrovsk tightens that Russian grip in the east, gives them a launch pad. Ukraine's gonna have to dig deep again, but man, morale takes a hit when you lose a place you've held that long.
It's just brutal every time we see these headlines. More civilian deaths, more communities wrecked. That's the real cost, beyond maps and front lines. I'd point out, Major, that the stories we're not hearing, injured children, families leaving again as winter sets in, will shape how the world judges this conflict. There's a humanitarian crisis growing under the military news.
You know, it's the same playbook from the Russians. Take ground, hammer the cities, wear everybody down. Saw it in Syria, seeing it here. And, kinda like Chuck said, this changes the calculus, could shape the next phase of the war. It ain't just about territory, it's about perception, willpower, and who cracks first.
And then you got Sudan. The Rapid Support Forces just rolled over Baba Nusa, West Kordofan's last army holdout. That's not just another local scrap. This could set the whole region off. The sufferings, sheesh. You're looking at civilian displacement, famine, all that. Reminds me of back in Iraq. Yeah, I know. I always got an Iraq story. But picture this. We thought we locked down a town and then, boom, one night it flipped. It was chaos. The dominoes fall faster than folks think, and the people stuck in the middle, they pay most. Sudan's turning that corner, hard.
Absolutely right, Chukwuka. I think we sometimes forget how quickly conflict grows into catastrophe. In Sudan, it's not ideology or big power games, it's about survival now. Millions displaced, aid not getting in. The world's watching, but not really acting. You brought up Iraq, and it's the same thing. Civilian lives just become bargaining chips.
And the bigger picture, y'all, is how these crises feed into global realignments. Russia and China. Look at how they called out U.S. policy on Venezuela at the Security Council. They said we were extorting. Not that I agree, but you're seeing open pushback, not just behind closed doors. Power politics, making old lines blur. Sort of like the Cold War, but with new cards on the table.
Yeah, Sentinel, but at the end of the day, that Venezuela call-out from Russia and China? That's classic. They smell blood in the water, want to slap us on the wrist in public. It's always a game of who blinks first. If you ain't putting pressure, you're losing ground somewhere else. Battlefield, boardroom, or UN chamber, it's all moves and counter-moves.
Now, talking about the world's referees, let's get to the United Nations. UN leadership is looking at chopping 2,600 secretariat jobs and slashing budgets by 15%. That, for the UN, is massive. You've got to ask, if you squeeze that hard, what's left for crisis response or diplomacy?
It worries me a lot, Chukwuka. The UN is supposed to be leading humanitarian aid and mediation in conflict zones. These cuts mean slower aid, fewer boots on the ground where people actually need help. It's the most vulnerable who lose: refugees, children, civilians in places like Sudan or Gaza. And honestly, it signals that governments are turning inward, not out.
Let's take a beat, Olga. UN's been through plenty of turbulence. Reminds me of the Cold War, honestly. Institutions under siege, budgets squeezed, polarization. Didn't break them then, might just make them adapt now. But the question is, adapt to what? If the tools get blunt, are they still effective? Sometimes you get leaner, other times you just get weaker. History's taught us that much.
Olga, I get what you're saying, But ain't it true that the UN's been pretty inefficient? All those resources, all those crises, sometimes feels like it's just more paperwork than action. If you're gonna cut, maybe it's a wake-up. But real talk, when folks lose their jobs, mission suffers. Still, hard choices, just like any unit under fire has to make.
Now, let's shift to the economic war. Canada's holding their interest rates at 2.25%, trying to ride out U.S. tariffs and a lot of economic fog. Elections coming up there too. Liberals and conservatives neck and neck in the polls. It's kind of a parallel, don't you think? Political uncertainty, pinch of outside pressure. Major, you said something about Cold War days again.
Yeah, it's a pattern, Chuck. Back then, economies got hit with embargoes, tariffs, market jolts all the time. You had to be flexible, resilient, but you also saw institutions, banks, political parties, alliances tested. Sometimes that kind of pressure reveals cracks. Sometimes it creates new strengths. It's a gamble, and Canada's got to watch for both. 'Cause once public trust slips, it's hard as hell to win back.
When you mention trust, I can't help but think about Venezuela. US policy, sanctions, those ripple out far beyond leaders in Caracas. Let's be honest, it's civilians who miss out, the ones who can't access medicine or food. Russia and China will jump on that at the UN, of course, but for ordinary people, it's not a power game, it's survival.
Sanctions are a tool, Olga, no doubt. They might sting regular folks, but what's the alternative? Let bad actors get a pass? Sometimes you need to use every lever you got. You're never going to have a clean solution, only trade-offs.
Feels like everywhere. The institutions meant to hold things together are getting tested. Budget cuts, election nerves, sanction standoffs. And what's left at the end depends on whether they bend or break. Now let's pull up from geopolitics to society and culture. First up, India's got a reason to celebrate. Sai Jadhav just became the first woman officer to graduate from the Indian Military Academy. In 93 years, that's never happened. Huge, right?
Major milestone, Chuck. Back in my day, you didn't see women hit those top ranks in a lot of armies. Hell, even now it's rare in some places. Breaking the brass ceiling, as it were. I bet it'll inspire a wave of change for women in uniform, not just in India, but worldwide. Hats off to her.
It means more than just headlines. Girls and women everywhere will see themselves reflected in those uniforms, in those stories. Let's hope it's the start of lasting progress, not a one-time headline. But it also reminds me, we still have so far to go everywhere. Equal opportunity is the social contract, or at least it should be.
And while we're talking contracts, Australia just rolled out a ban on social media for anyone under 16. Now, Olga, I already know you've got thoughts on that one.
Of course, it worries me when governments jump straight to bans. Don't get me wrong, online dangers for kids are real. But shouldn't young people have a say in decisions about their lives? Where is the line between protecting youth and giving them agency? If the aim is safety, fine, but it shouldn't come at the expense of learning to make good choices for themselves.
I'll take the other side. Sometimes you gotta lay down the law for young people. Set those limits like you do with any platoon. Keeps them focused, keeps them safe. Social media is a battlefield of its own, and discipline keeps you upright. They can thank you for it later. That's how my drill sergeant saw it.
You want to talk about focused? Let's talk chess. Global Chess League just wrapped up. Alpine SG Pipers came out on top, with Pragyananda and Caruana stealing the spotlight. Here's a quick story. Once in a tourney, I was seconds from a blunder and spotted a trap no one else saw. Sometimes that's what separates the champs from the pack. Patience, calculation, guts under pressure. Lot like what we've been talking about tonight, honestly.
Beautiful analogy, Major. And let's not forget, outside the headlines, societies are simmering. In Bangladesh, big protests, and at Brown University in the US, a campus shooting. All these moments remind us the social contract isn't static, it's up for debate everywhere.
All right, team, it's been a ride. The world's on edge, contracts shifting, whether on a battlefield, in the halls of the UN, or online. There's a lot more to track as 2026 gets closer. Major, Olga, Duke, appreciate your insight tonight. Each of you, sharp as ever.
Always good to spar ideas, team. And hey, next time, maybe we'll have a lighter headline or two. Maybe.
Thank you all for another thoughtful conversation. To everyone listening, keep asking questions. The world needs it.
Catch y'all next time. Until then, stay tight, keep thinking, and semper fi.
We'll be back. Until then, stay tuned and stay sharp. Good night from the New Sentinel.